The struggle of one family to find effective treatment for their son has dragged on for a lifetime. For children struggling with some of the most severe trauma and mental health disorders, help can still be hard to find. 7 Investigates' Naomi Coles brings us the story of Frankie Martinez.
God had waited in me that somebody needed to be a voice for these children.
Frankie's story begins in Hawaii, before he was even born.
They apparently were born into the system.
He and his younger brother were born addicted to meth, cocaine, alcohol. Sherry Martinez and her husband adopted both boys and 3 others.
Were children that had nowhere to go.
Sexually abused before he could even talk. Frankie had lived trauma after trauma before he entered the Martinez home as a toddler.
It wasn't till he was probably 7 or 8 before we did our first residential placement on him. He would break doors, he would break windows, he would throw rocks at us.
All their adopted children had special needs, but Frankie, they couldn't handle.
As he got older, the aggression built more and more. He has been in 8 long-term placements.
4 years ago, they moved to Mosinee. In the past 12 months, Frankie has moved through 3 facilities after being discharged from Mille Lacs in Minnesota.
He put 3 staff of the facility in a hospital.
He was brought home to Marathon County and placed temporarily in the juvenile shelter while the county searched for another long-term placement, finding one in Iowa.
Wisconsin just doesn't have any placements for him. And so
Frankie has a lot of complex diagnoses, including intermittent explosive disorder. He's one of a rising number of children with mental health issues so complex they have to leave the state to find a facility to treat them.
We have a small number of kids who are out of state, and for me personally, that represents a group of children that need something that we don't have to offer here.
We are seeing more and more youth with mental health needs that cannot be met locally.
The trend runs counter to what the Wisconsin Department of Children and Families and best practices nationwide consider to be the best way to treat mental health concerns in children.
I think some of our best research is telling us as much as we can keep these children, adolescents connected into their communities, the better. And
placement and out-of-home care isn't going to be our first go-to.
Every one of Wisconsin's eligible residential care centers rejected Frankie, his mother says. She wants a solution that's legally unavailable, Mendota Mental Health Institute. Found incompetent to stand trial because of Frankie's mental health disorders, Wisconsin doesn't allow children to be held in locked psychiatric care without a correctional order.
Every facility that he's been in for the last, I want to say 5 years, has told me he needs a secure mental health facility like Mendota.
There are some other states that have a facility with a specific designation, a psychiatric residential treatment facility. We don't have those here. One of the components of those is that they do have locked units. That's something that we don't do here for kids who are not incarcerated.
Experts say that what Frankie and children like him need is to be matched to specialized programs best for them, with a focus on getting him stable and back to his community.
They need a lot more dedicated attention to getting the child-adolescent's behavior stabilized.
A legal change in 2011 means the state regulates how much residential facilities can charge. The DCF says that a side effect of that is part of the reason why children are increasingly leaving the state. Ultimately, though, best practices recommend solutions that treat the child and get them back to a home environment.
We're just like at this point where there's all this information below about what works with these kids. And it's all trauma-based, and it's the way the brain works. And the trainings are expensive. They're excellent, but you need a system of care being trained in that.
Meanwhile, Frankie will leave for Utah next month. It's home number 4 since last year. His mother fears it won't last much longer than the others.
And I don't know where to go.
I spoke briefly with Frankie off camera for this report. For him, it feels like a cycle of one facility after another, all the same, none of them helping. He loves his family. He wants to be home, but he also doesn't want to hurt them. For 7 Investigates, I'm Naomi Coles.